while standing at the window of the house in which Shirley Jackson had lived, and across the way was the house in which old Mrs. McGovern had died, and she had lived in it for many years before she became old. She had lived in her house, built in a neoclassical something style that harkened back from another era, long ago, long before Mrs. McGovern had been born, and then became a grown-up woman who married and lived with her husband in the yellow house and made a garden of only peonies, big white ones that were streaked with a wine-dark red on the petals nearest the stamens, like an imagined night crossing an imagined day. So had been those peonies in Mrs. McGovern's garden, and she had grown other things, but no one could remember what they were. Only her peonies were committed to memory, and when Mrs. McGovern had died, and so therefore vanished from the face of the earth, Mrs. Sweet had dug up those peonies from that garden, Festiva Maxima was their name, and planted them in her own garden, a place Mr. Sweet and the beautiful Persephone and even the young Heracles hated. The Pembrokes, father and son, mowed the lawn, though sometimes the father went off to Montpellier, the capital, to cast votes for or against, as he felt to be in the best interest of the people who lived in that village in New England, which even now is situated on the banks of the River Paran. And the other people lived in that village. The Wilmingtons lived always in their house, and the Atlases, too. And so also were the Elwells, the Elkinsons, the Powerses. The library was full of books, but no one went into it, only parents with their children, parents who wanted their children to read books, as if reading books were a mysterious form of love, a mystery that must remain so. The small village in New England held all that and much more, and all that and much more was then and now, time and space intermingling, becoming one thing, all in the mind of Mrs. Sweet. All that was visible to Mrs. Sweet as she stood in the window, at the window, but so much was not visible to her then. It lay before her, all clear and still, as if trapped on a canvas, enclosed in a rectangle made up of dead branches of Betula nigra, and she could not see it and could not understand it even if she could see it. Her husband, the dear Mr. Sweet, hated her very much. He so often wished her dead. Once then, a night when he had returned home after performing a piano concerto by Shostakovich to an audience of people who lived in the nearby villages, and so felt that they wanted to get out of their homes from time to time, but as soon as they left their homes, they wanted to return immediately, for nothing was nearby, and nothing was as nice as their own homes, and hearing Mr. Sweet play the piano made them sleepy, their heads sometimes falling forward, and they struggled to keep their chins from landing on their chests, and that happened anyway, and there would be lurching and balancing and gulping and coughing, and though Mr. Sweet's back was turned away from his rural audience, he could sense all this, and he could feel every twitch, every shudder as it registered in each individual. He loved Shostakovich, and as he played the music written by this man, the Oath to the People's Commissar, Song of the Forest, 8 Preludes for Piano, the grave sorrows and injustices visited on him flowed over Mr. Sweet, and he was very moved by the man and the music that the man made, and he wept as he played, pouring all of his feelings of despair into that music, imagining that his life, his precious life, was being spent with that dreadful woman, his wife, the dear Mrs. Sweet, who loved making 3 courses of French food for her small children, and loved their company, and she loved gardens, and loved him, and he was least worthy of her love, for he was such a small man. Sometimes people mistook him for a rodent. He scurried around so, and he was not a rodent at all. He was a man capable of understanding Wittgenstein and Einstein, and any other name that ended in Stein, Gertrude included.